You bring the energy, he'll do the rest. Martinez Company, powered by Sports Radio 102.9 The Game.
You're going to hear it right here.
The show starts now.
Well. Good morning. It is Wednesday, January 29th, 2025 here as we're almost done the month of January. And things will gradually continue to warm up across the United States. At some places, as Jerry in Rhode Island said earlier, it's getting to be 40 degrees up there in Rhode Island / Maine parts of the world. And we thank you all for tuning in here to Martinez Company. Of course, I am Angel Martinez on the Coastal Sports Network, brought to you by Sports Radio 102.9 The Game. We thank you all for tuning in today. Don't forget, you can make your comments live on the social medias: Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, X, Kicks, Rumble, Twitch, not so much anymore. And I'll get into that a little bit later on, but everywhere else. And of course, you can call or text the show at 727-858-6650, 727-858-6650. Joining me a little bit later on this morning, which will be about, I would say another 10 minutes or so from now, will be Rock Riley, the pulse of Tampa Bay. He always has the pulse on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Him and I are both wondering what's going to happen with the Rays, because at this point, there's been really no new news, I should say, about what's going to happen with the Rays. So Rock will be joining me here in a couple of minutes. Also, fast chat with CGM, State of Garage Motorsports, of course, from the Arkham Menard series. Stuart Weiss will be joining me at about 10:45-ish, 11 o'clock this morning. And, of course, your calls or texts at 727-858-6650. Don't forget, you can always visit sr1029game.com for all the latest content that's available, including Mariano, The Drive with Q, his replay from yesterday, along with the audio-video portion of it, along with Beeve. He'll be on this afternoon. Our guest on Beeves World will be Rich Cimini, the writer for the New York Jets, columnist, journalist as well, for the New York Jets. So we'll get into some Jets talk this evening on Bees World. And then closing out the night tonight is the Talking Hoops gang, Coach T, Coach Mac, and Doc Riley. That will be at 8 p.m. tonight, this evening. And in case you guys were looking for Pete Shepard this morning, Pete was feeling a bit under the weather because his wife has been a little bit under the weather. So he may have caught what he was trying not to get from her. Good morning, Gas Pump Guy, as he starts out the morning here with me as well. And we also heard that Baker Mayfield is taking place of Jaden Daniels at the Pro Bowl. So Jaden Daniels will not be there because of his injury. So Baker Mayfield will be joining him as well, along with some other notables. And I will tell you exactly the lineup for the 2025 Pro Bowl games from Arizona, or at least representing Arizona. Butter Baker, excuse me, the strong safety, Trey McBride, the tight end. Buddha has, it's Buddha, goodness gracious. Buddha has, pardon me, 7 Pro Bowls. Trey, his first. From Atlanta, special teamer Cardero Hodge, if I'm saying it correctly, I hope so, his first Pro Bowl appearance. Chris Lindstrom, the guard, his 3rd Pro Bowl appearance. And Bijan Robinson, the running back, his first Pro Bowl appearance. From Baltimore, they're sending 8. Kyle Hamilton, a strong safety, for his 2nd Pro Bowl appearance. Marion Humphrey, the cornerback, his 4th. Tyler Linderbaum, the center, his 2nd. Namandi Madubuke, and I know I'm butchering his name, my apologies. The interior lineman, 2nd Pro Bowl. Patrick Richard, fullback, his 5th. Rokon Smith, the inside linebacker, his 3rd. Ronnie Stanley, the tackle, his 2nd. And Kyle Vanoy, the outside linebacker, his 1st appearance. From Buffalo, they're sending 3. James Cook, the running back, his 2nd. Deion Dawkins, the tackle, his 4th. And Connor McGovern as the center, his 1st appearance. From Carolina, they're sending 2. J.C. Horn, the cornerback, his 1st appearance, along with Robert Hunt, the guard, his 1st. Chicago, Jalen Johnson, the cornerback, his 2nd Pro Bowl appearance, and the only one from Chicago. Cincinnati sends 3. Quarterback, Joey Burrow, for his 3rd. Jamar Chase, the wide receiver, his 4th. Trey Hendrickson, the defensive end, his 4th as well. Cleveland sending 4. Joe Bitonio, the guard, his 7th. Myles Garrett, defensive end, his 6th. Jerry Jeudy, wide receiver, his 1st. And Denzel Ward, the cornerback, his 4th. I'm wondering if Myles Garrett, and I think his contract is almost coming up to an end, but I wonder how much longer before Myles Garrett decides to say that's it for him. Along with that, Dallas sending 4, and Dallas is higher. Everybody's still kind of scratching their heads and trying to figure out what's going on there. Brandon Aubrey, the place kicker, his 2nd. Micah Parsons, the defensive end, his 4th. As we keep hearing that maybe Dallas will trade away Micah Parsons, but stay tuned throughout the offseason, which has not started yet until after the bowl is over. But his 4th, Tyler Smith, the guard, his 2nd. Cavante Turpin, the return specialist, his 2nd. Denver sending 3. Nick Bonito, the outside linebacker, his first one. Marvin Mims Jr., the return specialist, his 2nd. And Pat Surtain, the 2nd, the cornerback, his 3rd Pro Bowl appearance. From Detroit, Brian Branch, the strong safety, his 1st appearance. Taylor Decker, the tackle, his 1st. Jack Fox, the puncher, for his 2nd. Jahmyr Gibbs, the running back, his 2nd. Jared Goff, the quarterback, his 4th. And listen, at least he'll be able to relax. I know he's been getting a lot of grief. I know a lot of people are wondering if he's still the quarterback for Detroit for the future, but hopefully, who knows, maybe we'll get a word edgewise in with him as they get ready to do the skills practice tomorrow night in Orlando. Frank Ragnow, the center, his 4th. Green Bay sending 3. Rashawn Gary, defensive end, his 1st. Josh Jacobs, the running back, his 3rd. Xavier McKinney, the free safety, his 1st. Houston sending 4. Nico Collins, wide receiver, his 1st. Daniel Hunter, defensive end, his 5th. Joe Mixon, the running back, his 2nd. Derek Stingley Jr., the cornerback, his 1st Pro Bowl. Indianapolis sending 3. Zaire Franklin, the inside linebacker, his first Pro Bowl appearance, Quentin Nelson, the guard, his 7th. And Jonathan Taylor, the running back, his 2nd. Jacksonville, with their new head coach, well, I'll get into rock about that one. Logan Cook, the punter, the first Pro Bowl. Thankfully, he's not traveling far. Ross Masetic, the long snapper, for his 2nd. Brian Thomas Jr., wide receiver, his 1st. Vegas sending only 1. Brock Bowers, the tight end. Los Angeles Chargers sending 3. Joey Bosa, the outside linebacker, his 5th. Derwin James, the strong safety, his 4th. And Rashawn Slater, the tackle, his 2nd. Los Angeles Rams, Gerard Verse, the outside linebacker, his 1st ever Pro Bowl. Miami sending 1 as well. Juno Smith, the tight end, his 1st. Minnesota, Sam Darnold, as the first time. Go figure, the stuff he's done with Minnesota is the reason why he's made himself to a Pro Bowl and the season he's had. Sam Darnold, his 1st appearance. Andrew DePaloa, the long snapper, his 3rd. Jonathan Greenard, the outside linebacker, his 1st appearance. Justin Jefferson, the wide receiver, the 4th. Byron Murphy, the cornerback, his 1st, along with Brian O'Neill to tackle, his 1st. And Andrew Van Ginkel, the outside linebacker, his 1st as well. Drake May, the rookie phenom, out there from Patriots land. The quarterback making his 1st appearance. New York Giants, Dexter Lawrence, interior lineman, his 3rd. Malik Neighbors, the wide receiver, his 1st. From the New York Jets, Quinnen Williams, interior lineman, his 3rd. From New Orleans, Eric McCoy, the center, the 2nd. And speaking of, New Orleans is thinking about Kellen Moore right now from the Philadelphia Eagles being the lead head coach candidate down there for the Saints. Pittsburgh, Chris Boswell, the kicker, his 2nd. Mika Fitzpatrick, the free safety, his 5th. Cameron Hayward, interior lineman, his 7th. Miles Kilbrew, the special teamer, his 2nd. Isaac Samalo, his guard position. First time ever, Russell Wilson, his 10th. I think it's probably other than Kyle, the longest tenured Pro Bowler in there, his 10th appearance. San Fran sending Nick Bosa, defensive end, the 5th. His 5th appearance. Kyle Justak, fullback, 9th appearance. George Kittle, tight end, 6th appearance. Fred Warner, inside linebacker, for his 4th. And then closing out here, you got Seattle's Jackson Smith. I know I get this. It's Nixon Smith Jabba, if I remember correctly. Wide receiver, rookie. Leonard Williams, interior lineman, the 2nd time he's been there. And Devon Witherspoon, cornerback, his 2nd appearance. And then finally from Tampa Bay and Washington, Tampa Bay sends Mike Evans, the wide receiver, 6th appearance. Baker Mayfield, the quarterback, 2nd one, 1st one with Tampa Bay. Vita Vea, interior lineman, 2nd one. And Tristan Wirfs, the tackle, his 4th appearance. And finally, Bobby Wagner, inside linebacker, 10 years, 10th appearance with the Pro Bowl. And he originally also with Seattle. So with that being said, Joining me here, the Pulse, Tampa Bay, and the Rock Stops Here podcast. It is my good friend who I have not spoken to, well, since USF, the end of the season there. But nonetheless, it is Rock Riley. Rock, thank you for joining me this morning. How are you?
Oh man, I'm doing great. I'm going to just try to take in every day, Angel, because once the Super Bowl is done, we've got to wait until training camp or the college football season. So we're still got time, Angel. I used to hate it when they went from 1 week break from the AFC NFC championship to the Super Bowl to 2 weeks. And I'd be like, oh, we got to wait 2 weeks. And now, maybe it's because I'm getting older. I just want the football season to continue, so it's a good time. It's a great time, man.
It is a great time, that's for sure. It is a really good time. As Rick says, the Drake May with a 58.6 QBR at the Pro Bowl is a joke. The Pro Bowl has lost its luster, but it's also Rick. Yeah, I mean it's flag football, so you don't have to have the monstrous numbers they used to have before. And who knows, Rock? If at one point or another, we hope not, but at the rate that we're going with the NFL, will the NFL eventually turn into just that, being flag football?
Oh, the NFL in
In
general?
general, I hope not.
No, I know what you mean. You mean the way the rules are every time down the field. It's like boom, every receiver's looking for the flag. I know. But it still is a violent game. And if you go to an NFL game and if you're down low or you ever get a chance to even be on the sidelines and you see how violent it is still. I know when we're sitting on our couch and it's ridiculous with these rules, and they know it, and you can't change that. Now, I will tell you this. I know people in the NFL offices, and I don't know if you've noticed, Angel, or all your viewers and your listeners, you see more and more ads for flag football and especially for girls.
Yeah.
And the NFL is printing money, but they always want to look and they have these big meetings on Park Avenue to try to make more money. And you see how they're going to play in Berlin and they're going to even more countries trying to make it global. But what they're trying to do is specifically kids and even more specifically girls. You're seeing these flag football. You're seeing flag football around the country. They're big on that. They want to get the girls young and boys too. And I'm going to give you a little hint here down the road, they're looking to try to do what Little League did at the Little League World Series at Williamsport every year. You know how that's worldwide and global. They would like to do that for flag football. Again, try to get the younger audience. But again, look at the ratings. NFL is still king. But I don't think overall the game, I don't think it will get to flag football, Angel.
I hope not, because again, that's what everybody looks forward to. We know the ticket prices every year, they seem to go up and up with everything else. And it just stinks because before, I mean, you can, even if you're, for most single people, they would take it in because at the max, maybe just a couple years ago, you're looking about 80, $90. And even then, it's still high. But now you look at some of these games, 180, 200, depending on how hot the team is. And you can't even go to the Super Bowl anymore because, you figured, what was it, $25 when it first started? Obviously, you'll never get back there. That was just a farce back in the day. But now you're looking at anywhere between 1,500, and that's only if you pick it up. So at the end of the Super Bowl this year, then they release the tickets for next year. Now, you don't know if your team's going to be there or not. So you pick up 2 tickets, let's just say for 3,000 plus tax and everything else. You'd hope your team would end up making it there. But then if it doesn't, now you got to try and sell these tickets, come next year. And depending how things continue to either go up or down, some people may not want to buy them because they may not have that extra $3,000 for 2 tickets or 1 ticket. So you end up taking a loss. But everything just continuously goes up, as who was it? I think it was two or somebody said that the market is what the market is. And when you start offering contracts somewhere close now into the billion-dollar stratosphere, it's just going to be to a point where when you go to the game, what's it going to come down to, Rock? Are we going to be spending now $300 per ticket just to watch our favorite venue?
It drives me crazy. I said this. I have a new Saturday radio show in Tampa, WDAE. It's on the iHeartRadio app, and I said this, and it really ticked me off. I was thinking about it. Goodell season, and they're going to go Why are you even playing preseason games? Oh, we have to judge the guy in the bubble. Why are you charging NFL fans full price for preseason games when starters don't even play anymore?
Yep.
You may get one series. Most of the time, they don't even play. College football, big programs. Michigan at their house, 100,000. Penn State, their kids that are 18, 19, 20, 21 years old, they don't play preseason games and they do just fine. So, you get a lot of these scrimmages. So, what drives me crazy is the NFL. Why are you charging full price for preseason games? Give the fans, throw them a bone.
Yeah.
And you're right. It's a shame. Like Eagles, Kansas City Chiefs fans, like the average hardworking fan and man, and he's got kids or he's got a family, he's got a wife. How can he afford to go to the game? You used to be able to go, and really, it's just the high rollers that are able to go, and you got to have a lot of money, man.
Yeah, and which is it's just again it's a shame because that's not the way it used to be before, and you got to really think about how do I, and it's crazy to even think that you have to now do I get weekly groceries, which used to be even if you were single and you were constantly working, the max maybe you spent maybe what $50, and that might be like bread, coffee, stuff like that. Now you're spending twice as much on it. Hopefully it'll get better and it'll start coming down, but even if you're a single guy and you're like, man, I really want to go to this game, but I got to get groceries. And so now you got to make that ultimate decision what I end up doing. So it's just that part of it is tough. The Pro Bowl, thankfully, so far, still it's reasonably priced where you can still go enjoy it as long as there isn't rain in the area, because that's the other thing. The last couple times that it's been in Orlando, unfortunately, we had to deal with rain. And that, nobody wants to hang around because it's not a regular game, number one. And then if they decide to say, all right, well, thanks fans for coming out, but we're going to call it because we're not going to extend the time. And it's just a Pro Bowl, it's only flag football.
Right.
It's a tough route altogether. But speaking of routes, which Baker Mayfield ended up taking place of Jaden Daniels at the Pro Bowl, at this point, we have the situation with Tampa Bay. No other person better to talk about it than with you, because the Bucs now have a lot of moves to make in the offseason. They still have yet to talk to, and I know they're going to wait until the actual physical season's over, and then in March they'll start talking even more. But you're looking at Mike Evans, which they have to make a decision. Chris Godwin, they have to make a decision. You also are looking at that Baker Mayfield, even though he might have 1 year still left on his contract extension. But at this point, why not lock him in for a little bit longer of a time? Because you're not going to find any of the good quarterbacks are going to go out early. And because of the successful season the Bucs have had, they would have to wait around anyways to see if someone drops. But you also have to replace Kyle Trask, because everybody knows, I mean, the kid has been here long enough, but has not proven himself to be a starting quarterback. So now the Bucs really have to do some shopping, and they got to figure out the same way, even though Todd Bowles, I know he's a nice gentleman, Liam Cohn, we'll get into that because I think that was a crazy fiasco, but they really have to figure out what's going to be going forward for the Bucs and the Glacier family, thinking that we got some contract negotiations, we got to stay under the cap, but at the same time, we're going to have some big holes to fill.
You are right. And every team every year, it's not the same. You can't, other than look at the Chiefs. Here they are again in the Super Bowl, but that's an anomaly. That's like what the Patriots were doing with Belichick and Brady. You got to give it up to them. It's unbelievable. Tony Dungy, the other day we saw him and he was like, I can't believe that they've been to 7 straight AFC championship games. I mean, he coached in the NFL. This isn't Joe Blow on his couch. It's unbelievable what they're doing. But yeah, they got a lot of decisions. Evans is not going anywhere. What do you do with Chris Godwin? Chris Godwin is coming off a dislocated ankle. He had surgery. He's turning 29 in like a couple of days. Usually, Father Time catches up. It hasn't to Evans yet. You make up a good point. Nobody, Angel, and I'm there all the time. Nobody's brought that up about Baker Mayfield. They just gave him $100 million extension, which sounded like a lot last year. But when you look at these contracts for NFL starting quarterbacks and you look what he's been able to do you try to lock him up longer because the price is only going to go up? That's a very good point. I do know this, that the Glazier family that owns the Buccaneers, they believe they got their quarterback. that he is a franchise quarterback. Now, I know you're going to get fans say, oh, he's not a franchise guy. He's not. Well, look at his numbers. Look at what he's been able to do. And those guys are hard to find. So they're set on that. Maybe that's a good point. Maybe they'll try to lock him up. The big thing is now is you got to get another offensive coordinator. It's going to be a new system again. This
Yeah.
is the third year in a row. You look at the Chiefs, same head coach, same offensive coordinator, same defensive coordinator, Spags, same quarterback. That means a lot. Now, you can also say, look at the Washington Commanders. Not only did they have a new head coach, a new offensive coordinator, a new defensive coordinator, and a rookie quarterback. And they did go to the NFC Championship, so it can be done, but it's very hard. You want to have your same system. So they got a couple of guys, and what do you do? Is Lamont David going to come back? He did play pretty good for an older guy. Bottom line, their offense was good. They were a top 10, top 5 offense in the NFL. Numbers don't lie, and the offensive line is good. It was the defense. They need some help on defense. And again, and I know we're going to get into it, you got to get another third year in a row. Baker Mayfield, I think is it his 9th offensive coordinator? It's
Yeah.
unbelievable. But you got to get a new offensive coordinator, and that's their big decision right now, and they're getting close.
It is, because we've got plenty of to go around when it comes to obviously for the Bucs. Gasp guy who does a weekly segment about the Bucs, he says they should have gotten rid of Bowles and made Liam the head coach with an offer he couldn't refuse. But I don't think the only problem is, and Gasp guy and I we've been talking about Todd Bowles all season long. We're waiting to see. It's like one of those things, Rock, with Todd Bowles. You wonder, can he finally at one point or another get over that hump where you have the former head coach, ambassador of the Buccaneers, where basically Bruce Arians said, I'm handing you this team in good hands. You have a great roster. You have a good, front office is going to stand behind you. You just need to do better than you did when you were with the Jets. And we've waited to see for Todd Bowles to finally be able to get in some sort of rhythm where you don't have guys coming into Ray J and taking over Ray J. And we saw when Washington came into town, it was the same way. It was like Todd had he had a pretty good plan. I want to say the second half of the season, it gradually kept getting better for the Bucs. But playoff time, it's almost like he goes back to playbooks from 4-5 seasons ago where he just can't put it together for Baker and this offense to be able to hit stride for stride. And granted, Commanders were hot until they weren't last week, but he still, they end up being hot. And Todd Bowles is just, he's questionable, to say it at best. And it's not to bring Todd Bowles down. It's not to say anything negative about him, but it really starts to raise a lot of questions. Is he still good enough to remain as head coach as the Buccaneers?
It's a great question. And those are all true factors. There is no doubt about it. So if you're the owner of the Glazers, that's what they were trying to figure out. They were like, look, and I know the NFC South, the NFC South sucks, but they have won the NFC South. They won their division 3 years in a row, 4, but they've 3 years in a row with Todd Bowles. Normally, it has been the defense that has carried the offense. That was not the case this year. And he is the defensive coordinator. Yes, they were hit hard by injuries, but also wide receivers, tight ends, opposing teams, wide open over the field.
Yeah.
The last game I was sitting in the press box, and that same seat where we sit for the college games, and you got a great view. And I said to the guy next to me, like, why are opposing teams' receivers always wide open against the Buccaneer defense? How come Buccaneer wide receivers aren't always open against opposing defenses? So there were some questions, and I'm sure they debated that. And then they said, okay. And as look, Liam Cohen had never called plays at the NFL level. He was with the Rams. He was given the title of OC, but Sean McVay was the play caller. And he says that was his biggest thing that he learned from Sean McVay, that Sean McVay tree. It's unbelievable. They got 3 offensive candidates right now that are all they're 3 of them for the Rams that they're interviewing. They love the Sean McVay tree. And he gives him credit, but he also would never call plays on an NFL level. And He did a fantastic job. Yeah, Bucky Irving, a running back, can help. Can you imagine if you were the offensive coordinator, you got Bucky Irving, Angel, you're going to look real good. So
Oh,
am
yeah.
I. So right? So he did a good job. They went to him. Jason Light, the general manager, went to him before the season ended, before all of this, and said, "We want to keep you. What is your number? We're going to keep Todd," because they're like, "Look, we've gotten to the playoffs every year with Todd Bowles. Okay, we're going to keep him." And he had a down year with the defense because there's a lot of injuries, but he's still a good defensive coordinator. We're going to keep him. We want you. Baker wants you. What is your number? And he gives them a number. And he gives them a number as the highest paid offensive coordinator in the NFL. And Jason Light goes to the Glazers, and the Glazers say, "Give him that money." And then they go back to him. And then he meets with the Glazers and says, "I got an interview though in Jacksonville for a head coaching job." And the Glazers said, "You know what? Why don't you go get the experience?" So they let him have his first interview. But then when he came back, he asked for more money. Jason Light said, "We're already giving you the most that any offensive coordinator can get." And then the Glazers said, "Okay, listen, we want to keep him. Now it's business. You can't. This offer is contingent upon you not going back now for a second interview. We want you here." And then that's when he went quiet, didn't answer his phone. But then we also find out that the Jacksonville Jaguars had some blame in all of this. In the end, you're going to take the gig. They got a head coach, and the Bucs are looking for an offensive coordinator. They felt like they got they're a butt hurt. I get it. But how about the Jacksonville Jaguars? They told Liam Cohen, don't tell that you're coming back here. Keep this on the down low. And it's a short plane ride. They thought that they were going to be able to get this done, and he was seen in the building. And then the Rooney Rule. They also said we have to abide by the Rooney Rule, so we're going to fly this guy in the morning. We're not going to do anything with him, so keep this quiet. So that's why he wasn't texting. That's why he wasn't responding back to calls. So there's a lot that went into this, but in the end, Jacksonville got their guy, and we'll see how he's going to do.
Yeah, it was just upsetting though, because you got to figure it. Look, again, his wife. I know his wife had to defend one portion of it was because their son was sick. He had autoimmune disease, and again, no one picks on anybody's family. When your children are sick, children are always off the table. Period. I don't care who you are. You could have done 30 million things wrong in your life, but if your child's involved in any conversation, that should automatically be off the table. But you got to figure he came back, which also puts Tampa Bay too in a bad situation because depending on how much money was offered and then more on top of that. So when you bring in a new OC, is the new OC now going to require set amount that they were going to offer to Liam? Because they're going to look at it as, so you're willing to bring this guy in, keep him as your OC, pay him X amount of dollars. You want me to come in at whatever the normal rate is for an OC. I'm not going to do it. So it's kind of the almost, I would say 10% set up for failure. 9%, 90% of it, they're good. It's at 10% failure because they're going to look for that money. But what I didn't like about Liam is that he, like you said, in the Rooney Rule, there's been so many conversations about the Rooney Rule. I think at one point or another, the NFL is probably going to end up doing away with it because it's not as effective as it was supposed to have been. But you have Liam Cohen who decides to come in the middle of the night, do the deal, but yet you text Baker Mayfield saying that you were coming back as the OC to the Bucs. So it was just, there were so many things that went on. And I don't know if there's going to be Bucs fans who are going to be upset if, at one point if Tampa Bay, whether they play a divisional game, obviously NFC over in Jacksonville or vice versa, and eventually come down here to Tampa Bay. But I just didn't like the way it was handled because it did put kind of a negative spotlight on Liam, even if it wasn't all his fault.
Now, great points. Great points. Here's the thing. I had somebody just yesterday tell me that might not be the case, that Baker Mayfield was happy and the offensive line and telling him, "Go ahead, you take that job." We don't know. We're just getting that from Liam Cohen. Liam Cohen did an interview in Jacksonville, And he and Rick Stroud is with the Tampa Bay Times. He drove up there. He got him off to the side. That's what Liam Cohen said. I've got some people that are disputing that might not be the case. So we really won't know the exact story. There's a little bit of a white lie here. There's a little bit of a white lie here. I look at the Buccaneers, Angel, as looking at like they got shafted by back in when you're dating days when you were younger, and a girl just screwed you over and she went with the other guy, and then you kind of butt her. And I think that's what it is. They were like, we're making this guy the highest paid offensive coordinator. We gave him this gig out of Kentucky. He never called plays before. We did the same thing with Canales. You didn't see it didn't end up like that with Canales. John Spytek, the assistant general manager, goes to the Raiders because Brady recruited him. How's that allowed? Brady is the top voice on NFL on Fox,
Yep.
and yet he's running the Raiders. That's for another story. But in the end, you move on. And when you're saying I like your point where these guys coming in saying, "Oh, you made this guy, the highest paid. I want the money." All the guys that they are interviewing, there's 3 Rams and everyone. They've never called plays at the NFL level. So they're not going to, they can come back and say, you prove it. Here's the thing. You can make that into a positive. You can say, you see what happened with Canales? He never called plays even on a high school level, college level. He comes in 1 year. He's your OC, just like you guys never call plays. And he got a head coaching gig. And look at what we did with Liam. So you come in here, you do good, man. You got Baker Mayfield, you got Mike Evans, you got Bucky Irving, you got an offensive line. Hey, you got Jalen McMillan. You got, you come in here, you do good. Then you might even get a head coaching job. So you can turn that into a positive. But it looks like, because Chip Kelly is out there, there's some veteran guys. It looks like they're going the route of the young, up and coming, hungry offensive minds.
They are. The only thing is, again, as you mentioned, they have to prove themselves at this point. 'Cause if you've never called a play before, and Shad Khan believed in everything that Dougie P had to say when he first came here. And again, some of that blame could have went back to Trent Baalke for the unsuccessful portion of what Dougie P did, because I've mentioned this before on my shows in the past, was when Dougie P came on board, I looked at it like, man, this was the same guy that brought our first championship to Philly in the NFL, in the Super Bowl era. Obviously, the Eagles have had before the merger came around. So he comes out in Jacksonville, and you saw the mindset and the people he brought in-house. It was like, all right, we're going to do a reset from what we did with the Eagles. We're going to try and do it here with Jacksonville. Young quarterback at the helm. It's like you had everything in place except for, and I guess a lot of us won't ever know as far as what Trent Baalke was really like behind the scenes. But I guess there was a lot of butting heads. And in the end, when you had Mike McCarthy, who decided he's going to take this year off, when he was supposed to be a candidate for Jacksonville, he was also supposed to be a candidate for Chicago. Dallas ended up hanging him around. So you had all these candidates along with Ben Johnson, because Ben Johnson was the first priority for Jacksonville, other than Mike McCarthy. But when Baalke hanged around, fans were like, what are we doing here? We're creating the same monster all over again. So you bring in a new head coach with the same GM. How much of a success is going to be? And then for some reason, Shad Khan has him coming to Jesus party. He was like, you know what? Maybe I ought to rethink about what I just did there. Let's go, Baalke. Hey, Liam, by the way, we need you back in the building. So it's just all these things that end up happening. Just like the Jets. The Jets are such a disaster. Hopefully, Aaron will go in there and actually fix some things. And then you have the Rodgers version of it that, they don't want to deal with him anymore. They've pretty much told him that they don't want him back, but they won't say it in so many words, because every time they ask, obviously the new HC, he said, don't ask me about that question. We haven't gone to that portion yet. But Jacksonville and the mess that they made and trying to figure things out, Baalke's gone. At one point, I think even Spytek was even mentioned over with Jacksonville. But then it also makes you wonder too, is the GM for Tampa Bay, is Jason still wanting to stay there? I mean, there's so many parts to all these little moving pieces, because Shad Khan has said to Liam, you have full autonomy of what you want to bring in here.
Right,
So
right.
there's nothing saying you couldn't bring in the GM from Tampa Bay who's been successful for him for the past 6 or 7 seasons. So I just think a lot of these teams, when it comes down to it, if you know your GM is not working, and even though, yes, the Jets are a mess until they'll get better, but you do like the Jets, let your GM go when you needed to let him go. Therefore, you know that the mindset of the head coach coming in there, he understands, all right, no GM, good. Here's what we're going to do, and here's how we're going to line things up.
I actually like Aaron Glenn. I mean, he's certainly winning. He's winning the press conference, but I mean that's not going to mean much down the road. But I do like him, and he is going to sit down with Rodgers. Rodgers bought that big mansion in Montclair, New Jersey. Doesn't want to go anywhere else. Got Devontae. So I mean, I think we'll see. But you're right. That's been a mess. Woody, their owner, now said that he is stepping back. Are you going to have any say? He's like, I'm not going to have any say in this. So I actually think that's a good thing. Whereas Jerry Jones, it's the opposite situation,
Correct.
as you know, in Dallas. General manager Jason Light, he's here 10 years. He's not going anywhere. And he doesn't want to go to Jacksonville. He's in a good spot. Like I say, the Buccaneers they're in a pretty good spot. When you got a running attack like Bucky Irving, and if you look at the teams now that are left in the NFL, you got to run the football at this end. You know, look at what Saquon Barkley has done for the Eagles. Look at it's not just all passing with Mahomes. They're able to run it. When you get this far in the playoffs, you got to have a running attack, and the Buccaneers do have that. So I don't think I think Jason Light's in a good spot. But again, he's starting to lose. He's getting his guys poached. And Ball says that means they're doing it right. Like Spy Tech, it was his time. But again, it's usually the good old boy network who you know.
Yeah.
Brady went to Michigan. Spytek was a Michigan guy. They've been tight. And like I said, Brady behind the scenes from my sources, he's running the show, man, in with the Raiders, which blows me away. He thought he was going to get Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson, it turns out, he waited his time. Like he didn't jump. He could have got gigs last year. He was with Goff. He was in a good spot with the Lions. Let me wait. And when the Bears, he likes Caleb Williams. He thinks he can do something with him. And it's also the Bears, the story tradition. He'll be able to walk on water, man, if they can win it in Chicago, Hallis Hall. It's like in baseball. I brought this up last week. Joe Madden, who was the manager of the Tampa Bay Devil Rays, he turned it around with the low payroll in the AL East. They got to a World Series and they were in the playoffs. But the Wrigley Field, the Chicago Cubs, he said there was one day in the summer when he went out to make a pitching change and he looked around and it's Wrigley Field, a day game. It's packed. Everybody's in the blue. And he said it's like a cathedral. And he thought, man, if there's ever a chance that I could be managing here, I'm going to take it. And that's what he did. And then they won the World Series, the GOAT and the tradition, and they won it. And he told me when they had the parade in Chicago for the Cubs winning the World Series, when they got on the steps and he looked out, it was more than like a Freddie Mercury concert. He said, I couldn't even see to the end. Unbelievable. So getting back to the Bears, like when I watched the press conference of Ben Johnson, he was like, this is what I want to do. I want to turn the Bears, man, into a winner. And then he got his thing. But for a guy like Dave Canales, who's now the head coach of Carolina, and Cohen, you don't know if these opportunities are going to come up. What if Baker Mayfield has an injury next year? What if there's a sophomore slump for Bucky Irving? He gets hurt, or Graham Barton, a rookie center, or it doesn't, and Evans goes down, it doesn't work out, and your offense is bad. You might not get that opportunity. Just like the guy that they just blew out in the Texans, Bobby Slowick, wasn't he the hot name? And look, he's out. So these opportunities don't come up. Sometimes you can't wait. Johnson could do it. I don't think that Cohen could.
I don't think he could either. And it's a shame because, again, you don't want to pass up an opportunity because then you're always asked the question, have you ever regretted something in life? And the only regret you're going to have is the chance you didn't take, because then you're left. There's no feeling worse than knowing that an opportunity came knocking on your door. Maybe I'll hold out, whether it be more money, maybe another opportunity, whatever case may be. And then the success that follows the person that said, I'm not passing the opportunity because I'm opening that door and I'm going through it. It's tough. So, the only thing that kind of stings for Baker Mayfield, once again, another OC, another time where he has to reconnect with someone new. Him and Dave Canales, in all honesty, Rock, resurrected Baker's career and make him a standout that I think a lot of us knew that he could have been in Cleveland. And in my opinion, I think if he would have remained in Cleveland, if Cleveland would have been smart, he would have taken, just again, in my opinion, Cleveland to the Super Bowl. Now, whether he would have won or not, it's a whole different story, but I believe he was en route to be able to do so. But then he switched between a couple teams, finally landed here in Tampa Bay, and that's why I'd wish, just like Gaspam guy had mentioned as well, that he thinks they ought to lock up Baker for longer. He is the face of the team now. And then I keep Evans and let Godwin go, as much as I hate to say it, which everybody does as well. It's the worst thing ever, but it's decisions that you have to make. But yeah, if there's an opportunity, there's no way in the world you wouldn't have passed it up. And then you go, as you had mentioned with Chicago, the Bears ownership had stated that they wanted to be a destination where someone wanted to come to and do things better. Now, unlike Robert Kraft, who knew he screwed up, at least he righted that ship within one season. I don't know what Chicago was thinking, because when you bring in a European championship coach, or if he played overseas in some other EuroLeague championship coach, it's not the same as the NFL. Chicago, for whatever reason, believed that Matt Eberflus, just because he won, 2 Euro Cups out in Canada, that was going to be the answer for him, and automatically, now we're Super Bowl destined. So then you get rid of the OC, you get rid of the DC, you keep Eberflus, reset 2024. Oh, no, it's the OC again. We'll get rid of the OC. But the problem has always been Eberflus. And I think a lot of people too, including Chicago, preseason means nothing, but they thought, look, Eberflus got us 3-0 in the preseason. We should be doing something right, until he didn't.
Don't get me going on the preseason again. No, you're right. It's hard. And Brady, I know, boy, a lot of people hate Brady and the broadcasting, but he did bring up a good point when I was watching the NFC Championship game, and he's like, the it happens in training camp. You don't just turn the switch. The teams that you see, like the Eagles and the Chiefs, you are what your record says you are. You're there because everybody bought in. There was no me, me, me. And the two best teams are left. And it starts now. It starts in the off season. And getting back to Baker Mayfield, I was just thinking about what you said. Yes, Canales. Yes, revitalized his career. But also, he felt welcomed. He did not feel like that in Cleveland. He did not feel like that in Carolina. It was a short tenure with the Rams, but he wasn't their guy and they let him go. This was his last chance. And it's like anything. It's like a relationship or it's like a job. If you feel like the bosses like you, they give you a little bit of a crumb here or there, they throw you some things. You feel wanted. That's a big thing. And when he came here, they made it a competition between he and Trask, but right away he bonded with the offensive line. He was friends with Tristan Wirfs. They went to a Lightning game. There was a dive bar that the offensive line and the Bucs would go to, and they would bond. And that's a big thing. Feeling wanted is like Sam Darnold. He felt wanted in Minnesota. It seems like a little thing, but it's a big thing. And then if you're felt wanted, and then they start building around you an offensive line and this and that, and then you got Evans, and when you did have Godwin, you had some pieces. It can all come together. But I think it's little things. So little things. I remember your Eagles, like the last time that they were in they won it all with
Mm-hmm.
Foles. I remember a story where they had a team dinner in the beginning of the year and they got away from the facility and they put a basket in the middle of the table. I remember reading this, and whoever started said, everybody's phone go in the middle of the table. We're going to talk. We're going to BS. Nobody's going to be on your phone. Let's hang, man. Let's bond. And it started then in the off season. It's little things. It's not it's team. And you got to be a team to get to the Super Bowl and the championship level.
You have to, because if you don't, you're just going to leave you and everyone else behind as well. Because we saw it when with Carson Wentz, and we'll get into a little more talk as well. Joining me, of course, every week, Stuart, who's been patiently waiting in the green room, but Rock Riley, who's with me here with WDAE's Saturday weekly segment. Also, the Rock stops here. You guys, it's a great, great podcast. And I don't ever say, because Rock knows when he drops something new, if I don't reach out to him, it doesn't mean because I'm not listening. It's because I know when I get the opportunity of listening in, it's always a good time. And that's the other thing, too, before I bring Stuart up here as well, Rock, is that when we'll get into Sam Darnold, because I do want to get into it as he's finally going to his first Pro Bowl. But for those who think, those of us who are a senior in years and believe that life stops after 35 or 40, not the case, because Rock has continued to make a name and a face for himself even after being done on TV. But the best part is that a lot of folks don't know, behind Rock is his mini studio. Now, for those who don't know, he has a bleacher set just to the left of him that have about 40 people. And then the red rope, once the red rope fills, that's it. No one else can come in.
You're a good man. You're a good man. We can make him believe that. No, thanks very much, man. Appreciate
No
that.
problem. All right, and joining me on the weekly segment, it is always the fastest 15 minutes, if not the fastest 5 minutes ever. Fast chat with CGM, and CGM, of course, City Garage Motorsports, the Ark Menard team into the series coming up this year. Stuart Weiss, the owner of said team, City Garage Motorsports, along with Jason Smith and Becca Monopoly, the race car driver for number 85, which will be number 86 for Daytona temporarily. And then I'm pretty sure we're going to go back to number 85. Nonetheless, it is still Storm. And Stuart, first of all, welcome back to the show, number one. And the other thing is, too, you guys are starting to fill up that car.
We are. We've landed a few sponsors this week, and we hopefully will have another announcement on Friday of another one, we hope. So we're trying to be able to be competitive, man. It takes money to be competitive. It just seems to be racing is all about money. And so it is what it is. But we are ready, man. Storm is getting to be a bad piece, man. He's going to be ready. We're excited.
I saw it. I saw it from the videos when you have Jason and Becca on the side of the car. You guys have it on the left and getting it ready, tying everything up as we had talked about the week before. I mean, it just, the excitement. It's me, once again, obviously with the CGM shirt, because I want to make sure on Wednesdays that we do things right around here. But, you know, not only that, but it's just the excitement that's continuously building up. There was just a race that went on, Kevin Harvick on Saturday, which it's funny because the venue, as it was resurrected, and when they had the light show slash music that they had tested prior to the guys and girls getting there, if everybody looks, it looks like, and I know it was originally track and field, but it still has like that same feel. And I know the idea behind it was because out in the Busch Clash at the Coliseum, I understand like it was a novelty kind of idea when it first started, but you weren't getting as many fans as you thought there. The first year, pretty good crowd. Second year, not as much. Obviously, I mean, thankfully they switched venues before the wildfires, and God bless the folks who have lost everything out there in California. But this time around, is that something, Stuart, that we believe that they may end up hanging out there for maybe another 2 or 3 years and see if this thing actually has any legs?
I don't know. They're Bowman Gray this weekend is where they're going to be running that Clash this year. So, they're trying to find different venues. I think they're trying to expand to different markets and try to get some more fans involved. I think they felt that California was a big market that they could tap, So, I think they're trying. They're trying. And there's a big part of ARCA. ARCA has a whole West Series out there. So they run 12 races out there. They just raced Saturday night at Kevin Harvick's Curtin Speedway, which was the inaugural race of the season for them. So they raced out there on Saturday. They're trying to expand their market. You can't blame them. Lots of people out there.
There are. You can't blame them. I mean, they tried. I know it's logistically, it's everybody knows it's a little bit of a nightmare when it comes to NASCAR, and not in a bad way. It's just you start out in Daytona. Then they had this idea where they went from Daytona to California or out to Arizona for the second race, then come back to Atlanta. I think a lot of logistics when it comes to NASCAR, they have to kind of really start thinking about it once again, what makes the most amount of sense. And I had spoken with Dylan as well over at ARD, that to me, I don't understand, and I hope they make this change as well, is that you used to finish up in the Miami area for the end of the season over at Homestead. Now you're at the desert. And maybe it's the same kind of feeling, maybe not, But I think if you're going to end the season, if you start the season on the East Coast, end the season also on the East Coast, because logistically, I'm pretty sure for a lot of these teams, you get fried at the end of the season from the travel, the planes, the trailers. I mean, all these key pieces come into place. I just think you should just leave it on the East Coast. But in the desert, I guess it's worked so far. But I also know the numbers, once again, came down a bit this season over in the desert because you're not attracting as many fans. And as much as the changes come around, I know Kevin Harvick had talked about one of the changes that he didn't like, but it comes down to logistically, isn't making sense for NASCAR with the constant rule changes, how people used to like the way it was when a Winston Cup used to be around versus now. Is NASCAR at any point, and just in your opinion, the same way in my opinion, would they ever give it a thought of coming back to the East Coast to close out the season here again?
I think they're considering everything. Listen, NASCAR are smart people. They have done a brilliant job of building their business, and if it makes sense money wise, they'll be back. They're doing what they're doing for the fans, and they're also doing it because of the bottom line. They're moving around. They took the Chicago road race, which was a big hit. I actually, I don't know if you've watched that. I thought that Chicago road course race up there was a brilliant move on their part. Unfortunately, They had bad weather, which has kind of hurt them when they've gone up there. Maybe they need to move it to a different time of year, but I thought that was a brilliant move. NASCAR is trying to continue to expand their base, build their viewership, And listen, this is one thing I told you last year when we went to Daytona. I didn't even have a team last year. Went to Daytona with, we called NASCAR, said, hey, we want to start a team. They said, come to NASCAR. We'll introduce you to everybody you need to know. They helped us get started. And one of the things that I discovered is how amazingly open all the teams are to helping out. And, when I asked them about that, I sat with one of the guys one time. I won't tell you who it is. I sat with him. I'm like, you guys have been great. I'm your competitor. When we get on the track, we're going to be racing against each other. Why are you helping me so much? And he said something that really opened my eyes. He said, listen, if you add value to this series, people are going to want to watch, and it's going to increase everybody's value. So the more viewership and the better the quality of racing is, the better the product is, the better, more people that are going to be involved, the easier it is to get sponsors, the more eyes you have on it. So it really is a big tent business model. And everybody that I've met, not everybody I've met in the business is that way, but the vast majority of the people that I've met have said, hey, if you can better this league and better this competition, we want you in it and we'll help you do it. And I think that's the general idea behind NASCAR is they want to get as many people involved as possible. And so by going around to the different parts of the country, you're bringing more people, more businesses. I mean, I'll guarantee there's businesses in Chicago that are now interested in sponsoring race teams because they have the Chicago race. And so I can promise you the people that are sitting at the headquarters there in Daytona are putting all the numbers together when they look at schedules and where's the best place for us to go for the business. And so if it makes sense for them to come back, they'll be back.
I'd hope so. And you're right, because Chicago race is absolutely, I like it. I really enjoyed it. It does stink. It's like, here in the summertime, the rain, the only difference is the rain, 15, 20 minutes, it's out of here. Right. Chicago, not so much. It hangs around almost the entire race, which stinks. Yep. And even if you get the jet dryers out there, it just takes a while because everything has to recede out just the regular street channels. Not like the track where you can push down the track and eventually end up going away. Chicago's completely different, but I'm hoping that they keep up. And I've heard too that they may rethink about either going back to the Chicago Midland or hopefully it'll keep growing legs, and or if need be, just change some dates around. They've done it before. We've seen it where they've switched the dates around for different tracks to be able to get it in there. By the way, in case you guys are joining us, 6 minutes before the top of the hour, Rock Riley here with me from the Rock Stops here. Stuart Weiss from City Garage Motorsports out there in Lakeland, Florida. You guys still have the opportunity to put your logo on the car. Sponsor car number 86 for Daytona. Normally Storm is 85, but she'll be number 86 for the Daytona race. There's limited spaces available. Reach out to Jason Smith. You guys need to go two ways: through our website, sr1029game.com, City Garage Motorsports tab. Jason Smith's name is there. Easiest way to get to it, or even better, citygaragemotorsports.com, and you guys can reach out to Jason there and check out the t-shirt merchandise that they have. And speaking about merchandise, there is the merchandise that, if God willing, and I can get some time, rest up in my day here, the merchandise store will be open today, and City Garage Motorsports is a part of it. They will have some nice t-shirts, some nice hats, some jackets. It's going to be some nice gear on SR1029thegame.com. So you guys will end up checking out the merchandise. Rock doesn't know it, but I put Rock's gear up there as well. Things without him knowing, but
Do you take any time off, Angel? That's what I want to know, because it seems like you are working all day, every day. That's all I got to say, man. I don't know how you do it.
I never take time off. Last week, we were supposed to go to Gasparilla, and because I had to get stuff done, we didn't get a chance to do it. And I was working in between the NFC Championship games. So yeah, I never take any time off. But the great thing is, though, with Rock, a lot of people don't know. And Stuart, there's many things I don't admit. So if you guys remember the movie of Days of Thunder with Tom Cruise, so that's Rock and I. When we're going to the college games on Saturdays, we race each other. Yeah, down 275. It's the best thing ever. The cars don't look so good at the very end of it, but we don't worry about it. Do we, Rock?
No, not at all. Not at all. It's all good.
It's the best. It's the best thing. Now, listen, Rock's been a good friend since I've been in the Bay Area. We've connected really well. We've both of us try to figure out ways to obviously to put better productions together. The only thing is with Rock, if you get a chance, Stuart, the Rock Stops Here, his podcast, it's great because it's little insights that he'll say before the actual episode. And every guest that he brings on, he may not know this, but it's like one is better than the other because they have their own unique perspectives. So it's not like Rock looks for someone to say, oh, I'm going to top this guy with that guy because he's better. It's every perspective in the podcast. It's always good and it's always insightful. It's never, you can let it run all day long in the office and guaranteed you will not get bored. Again, I do not say this because Rock is here, because I've shared on text messages with him. If there's a particular episode that I like and it was something aired, I let him know. So it's always a good time and it's always good to share stuff back and forth. And Rock continues to do a tremendous job.
Is it Zelle or how do I make that payment to you? For that? Yeah. He's being too nice. But anyway, thank you very much, Angel. Much appreciated.
No problem. So Stuart, here we're getting closer and closer. It comes to Daytona. And before you know it, Speed Week is here. There's going to be the amount of traffic, the amount of people. It's going to be absolutely insane. For you guys, for Storm, once again, for those who don't know, because of the number change, if you can quickly explain to everyone why Storm will change for a race from 85 to 86.
Yeah, it was a business decision. It wasn't something we wanted to do, but we're a new team. We don't have points to fall back on. So you understand, the race the 15th will have 40 cars will start that race. And so right now they're looking at 50 plus will try to qualify. So the first 30, the top 32 speeds will qualify in on time. And then the bottom 8 spots are what they call provisionals based off points from last year. So because we don't have points to fall back on, if we don't qualify in on speed, we'd be out of the race.
Right.
So the 86 car, we made a deal with the 86 owner, Alex Clubb, and we're going to run 86 on our car, his car. It's our car, but it'll be his number. And we'll be able to use their points. They're sitting 25th in points. So if the top 17 points getters qualify, we would be in on points. So we would be able to make the race. So Daytona is kind of the Super Bowl. I don't know why NASCAR starts their series in season with the Super Bowl, but it's the Super Bowl. You don't want to miss Daytona. And we're doing everything in our power to make sure we're in Daytona. From building a brand new car, I mean, you've seen it. You were out there testing, Angel. I mean, we bought motor from a Cup team to make sure that we had the most horsepower we could. We've bought a really good speedway car. She's lean and mean, and we're making a little bit of aero changes on her this week and working on some stuff like that to try to get even a little bit faster. But we just couldn't take a risk of missing Daytona. So we'll run the 86 here and at Talladega, because Talladega, which is in April, will be based off of points only. And so if they had 41 cars show up, we'd be out. So we had to make sure that we were in the field for those 2 races. So we made a deal with Club Racing, and we'll be running the 86. Those 2 races only. The rest of the year, we'll run our 85 car.
Yeah, but listen, it's always good to team up. That's the best thing, especially when you're trying to get in, America's greatest race. And you're right, because it doesn't make any sense to start out the Super Bowl that way as well. But nonetheless, at least We're looking forward to see what's going to happen. Everybody can keep up with the updates on social media. CG Motorsports FL for City Garage Motorsports Florida on Instagram and Twitter. They're constantly putting stuff out on Instagram as well. You'll see Beck Monopoly up there with Jason as he talks about the new sponsors that are being added on. And then, of course, you can check it out on SR1029 The Game on Instagram and Twitter as well, because I try to repost everything with City Garage because we are partners here for not only 2025. Goodness gracious, how many 25s can I say in a minute? 2025 season, but going forward here with our partnership with City Garage Motorsports. And it's always a good time to have Stuart to stop by. And I will say this week, because next week we will not be at Radio Row like we were last year. Hopefully next year we'll be out there in Santa Clara, but we'll be up at the City Garage Motorsports headquarters because we're going to do a different spin to Radio Row week. We're going to do our own version up in Lakeland, Florida. I think you guys will really like it. You'll appreciate it. Not only that, but I already told Stuart we're going to race Becca. So those who don't know, Becca and I are going to be racing each other in the 85, 86 cars. She already beat me once, so she'll beat me for the rest of the season. But Stuart, Jason, the crew, listen, thank you once again for stopping by. Don't forget, every Wednesday, powered by Orlando Health, the Fast Chat with City Garage Motorsports and owner Stuart Weiss. Stuart, thank you for stopping by once again.
Thank you, my friend. Rock, good to see you, buddy.
Take care. Pleasure. Best of luck, man. I'll be following you. Thanks.
Thank you, buddy. Take care.
All right, there goes Stuart with City Garage Motorsports. Again, we are partnering up here for the entire 2025 Arc Menard Series season. So it's going to be a great time with City Garage Motorsports. Rock, you got to get out there. Man, you talk about an ownership group that's fantastic. You got to get out there.
I can tell it all starts at the top, and I can tell he's a good man. And I like your video. I like the videos that you post. So they're good. Check out Angel on his social media. It's good stuff.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it. All right, 11 a.m. here. Usually we have our commercial breaks. I'm going to go blow through it. That's what happens when you just take care of the network here. But thanks to MotorhandLumber.com, AceTechAdvisors.com, TampaJoes.com for being sponsoring us here on the network. We do appreciate it, along with Sports World Collectibles USA.com as well. Rock, Sam Darnold, who would have thought the way things worked out with Minnesota, and you have J.J. McCarthy, which still to this day, and I'll get to your comments, you guys have not missed out on the comments there, but to this day, it intrigues me that people want J.J. McCarthy basically traded and keep Sam Darnold. But did we catch Sam Darnold and a lightning in a bottle for one season? Because no one is guaranteeing that we can see the same production value out of Sam Darnold come next season.
I agree. I totally agree with you. I mean, you got to give him his due on what he was been able to do and the Vikings. But you're also judged on what you do getting into the end of the season, the postseason, when the bright lights come up. I remember the great Lou Piniella. Do you remember the name Lou Piniella? He was a Yankee, ended up being a manager, and I'll never forget it. I met him, it was spring training. And I said, Lou, look at so-and-so, how they're pitching. Or, Lou, the batting average, this guy, he looks good. He goes, wait till we get to the double-decker stadiums. Wait till we get to the regular season. This is spring training. So, again, I think that Darnold was really, 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 really good this year. But, you got to prove it. You got to prove it. Like Baker Mayfield, this is year 3 now. He's done it back-to-back years and has gotten better. So I'm with you. I'm with you on Darnold.
Yeah, because you got to, granted, it was the first time. It's a shame it ended up taking them to get to Minnesota to get to the Pro Bowl. And nonetheless, listen, even if it's not the same as we used to have it before, right, you still want on your resume. You still want to have Pro Bowl in there. So there's a lot of people think just because it's flag football, it means absolutely nothing. That means a lot, especially when you're trying to shop around.
Great. I'm glad you brought that up because this has come up in the media room and we've debated this. Each team, each region of the country, each market, when it comes to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, they have one reporter, writer, like Sal Pal is in there for the Eagles. Ira Kaufman, longtime reporter with the Bucs. And they make their pitch. If their guy is a finalist, okay, and they're in this big room. And I got to tell you, it's all about the pitch. give me quotes on what he did as a player. What was it going up against this guy? How did this guy make the team better? All these points. Pro Bowls do matter. They'll be like, he's a 6-time Pro Bowler, or he's a three Pro Bowls or 2 All Pros. That stuff does matter when it comes down at the end or even on contracts. I know it's a popularity thing, and I know now it's a flag football game and all that. And even when they had it tackled, those games were terrible. They got worse and worse, Angel. I mean, they had to do something. That's
Yeah.
why they're trying to have some skills. Thursday night is the skills deal, and they make it fun. Now, I was there last year, and it's great for the players, man, because they're among the best of the best, and Peyton Manning was coaching one team and Eli the other, and they're all together, and it means something. It's like if you're chosen, anytime you get an award at work, it means something to you, man. You're being, it's good. So, uh, that it does, but that's my point is like this is Ira Kaufman tells me when he's given the pitch, how many Pro Bowls do you have? It's on your resume. It does mean something to those players.
It does. It definitely does. Because again, listen, you work your butt off. I don't care. Even if you don't win a Super Bowl, you're able to make it a Pro Bowl. It still adds to, at the time, if you have a great illustrious career, to add to your Hall of Fame induction. Because at this point, they're looking at everything all together. And Lord knows, I mean, is Donovan to me Hall of Famer? No. Is he probably going to be? Yeah. But yeah, sure, he went to the Super Bowl. Granted, win it nonetheless. But even still, I mean, people are going to make the argument saying he's well deserving. His numbers are there, so on and so forth, and he did appear in a Pro Bowl. But it does matter. As much as the game changes, it does matter. I do like, in a way that, yes, even though a lot of folks don't like that they took the step back and went with flag football, but how many times have we not seen, and I am probably the biggest one that argues about this all season long, when is the NFL, forget about the calls with the refs, we'll get into that a little bit, when it comes to the head-to-head contact with the helmets, these shoulder tackles, and we started seeing with a lot of players that right shoulder, because I don't know what happened to, back in the Pee Wee days when you actually learn how to tackle, these guys are leading head, neck, shoulder in for a tackle. A couple of Eagles players have gotten hurt because of it. Darius Slay, and obviously he was injured on the Commanders game for the same exact thing, but we hear the clashing of helmets. Now, sometimes, once we watch the replay, it's a whole different story, but we've seen guys, Rock, where they've speared themselves, and yet the NFL, as much as they continuously say, we're going to get better at this, now they came up with, the over the helmet protection that's supposed to be like a soft pad if you get hit, but a concussion is a concussion. It doesn't care whether you had a soft pad or not. When are these guys going to get that message that if you want your career to continue and not take out a guy like Peyton Manning years ago when you had New Orleans in a bounty gate, when are they going to finally get it that these CTEs are a real deal and they will affect you as you get older?
Oh, there's no doubt about it, man. I mean, each year it's the rules committee. It's going to be the same thing this year. They go in, they're always looking to tweak. I will say this, though. I go to every practice. Like, there's no tackling practice. They do not practice. They do not practice. It's rare. So if you're not practicing, go back to fundamentals, man.
Yeah.
And then you get in these games and you get in and it's muscle memory. It's fast paced. It's, a lot is on the line and it's natural reaction, but they haven't practiced. It's according to the Players Association, the union, the collective bargaining agreement. And so they don't practice. They do not practice tackling. It's rare if you ever see tackling practice, Angel. It's crazy.
It's insane. That's why I don't understand. How in the world do you want the players to be there at the end of the year? That's what you're hoping for, but you don't. And then the same way, listen, Kansas City, I know there's a lot of folks when they talk about should Kansas City be there. Kansas City twice this year, if not 3 times, was not called for a hip drop tackle. How do you, and the rep is right there. That's what I mean. When is the NFL finally going to come out and say, you know what, we need to have an NFL referee university and get all these guys on the same sheet of music? Because if not, we're going to keep having the same conversation every year and going to have the same results, which is nothing.
You are right. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. Why do they not have the refs full time? I do not understand that. I've never understood that. I still don't understand that. That's one thing that is lacking. That should be. These guys should be full time, going over film, going over fundamentals and being in the right spot and going over things. That's how you get better. That's how the officiating would get better. But they want, like, I had somebody on one of my socials, they rip into me, and he's like, the NFL doesn't care who's in the Super Bowl. They're gonna make money, and the stands are gonna be filled, the ratings are gonna be high. Yes, but there is. Listen, I'm I'm not going to say his name, but he works on Park Avenue. Okay. His office is here. RG. If you work in the office at Park Avenue in the NFL office in New York City, they call Roger Goodell RG. RG's office is here. They they have it down to where every time they show Taylor Swift, they've got it down where they know on iPhones, different countries,
Hmm.
if it's girls, teenagers, what that does. They looking to make even more money. Get girls that are in different countries to see because Taylor Swift is there. That's how big. That's how big it all comes down to. And that being said, though, with an industry that is that big and focuses on marketing and things like that with Taylor Swift, you would think that they would have refs full time every year. That is your main full time gig. You would think, Angel.
You would think, because you figure a lot of these, you have to go through high school to be able to get to the college level. College level, you have to put in your time in order to be noted by the NFL to be able to make it into the NFL. Okay, so you're taking these guys, you're vetting these guys, you know what they're all about. Then you get, let's just say a handful. Let's go with just 10. You get 10 guys or girls, because we also have ladies also that are referees as well. So now these your solidified 10. Take those 10, making division out there. And I don't, even if you don't want to put it in New York, put it out in the Midwest somewhere. I don't care if you put it out in Vegas. Take those 10 and finally start coming down to it and talk with Troy Vincent and say, we need to do better. We need to fix this. Because when the new set of youngsters end up coming in from the college ranks into the NFL, they're going to go with what they've been used to at the college level. And then we're going to train them this way, but only for one game. But then when we get over to Minnesota, we change the game all over again because it's Minnesota versus Carolina.
Right.
But if we go to New England versus Buffalo, well, it's another set of different plays as well. And it shouldn't be that way. But that's how people see it. The same way they see it with Kansas City. They see Kansas City like, how many plays goes Kansas City way, and do we turn a blind eye? So if you want to start getting rid of all these rumors and saying that this ref doesn't belong there, or this guy's been in there too long, just like you have people out in our great, political side of the world, you have someone that's been there too long. Okay, take them. And I'm not saying Hockley's, for example, has been there too long, but excuse me, you take him and you say, all right, here's the most senior guy as a ref. We're going to take Ed. We're going to start bringing him down a little bit and figure out what is his strengths, what are his weaknesses. And now we'll start doing classroom work. Even if he has to visit the different venues, whether it be in Cleveland, Philly, you name it, something has got to give because the NFL is making hand over fist money. We're going Europe. I mean, just leaps and bounds. It's not going to be too long before we go to Australia. It's bound to happen. I mean, they're making their way that way. But with all the money they've made, and they know the fans, everybody complains, the NFL this, the NFL that. I'm not watching another game, but next Sunday you're watching the game. So why in the world are you not making some sort of classroom environment to make this better?
It's so true. And I think too, there is a little part of it. It's like human nature. Like, Mahomes is the face. He is the face of the NFL. It was like when Brady was there. And it's just kind of human nature that they're going to get some calls. I know it shouldn't be like that. I hearken back to another story, and it's an Major League Baseball umpire, long time. He's since passed. He was in the American League for a long time. He used to, I'm going way back now, but like Billy Martin and Earl Weaver, and he would love to have the arguments and the fights. You don't see that anymore with the umpires. They used to throw bases. No, they would get into each other and this and that. And he would say though, when you get a pit, like there's a strike zone. This is before they have Quez Tech and now all the video. There's a strike zone. Okay, it's from like here to here, and you
Mhm.
got this corner to plate and this corner to plate. You get a guy like Greg Maddux. Greg Maddux was so good, but he was consistent. And he's throwing that slider and he's hitting that outside corner, and he might be just out a little bit, but he's consistent. They're going to give him that. They're going to tell the batter, like, look, man, it's right there. He's going to throw it there. His control's that good. I'm going to call it. So it's kind of like, okay, that's Mahomes. He's going to get a few calls that other quarterbacks aren't going to get. I think some of that is human nature, but you're right. The officiating, that's one thing that's an Achilles heel of the NFL right now. When you and I can see it from our couch with all the replays that you get anymore, and you can see it and they go back. Why? Because they want the Chiefs. It makes it good. It's not fixed. It's not scripted. I've talked to an NFL player this week, a former NFL player, and he's like, look, man, it's not scripted. I know fans think that it's scripted. No, but do they want Mahomes and Kelsey and Taylor Swift in the Super Bowl? Yes, they do.
Of course they do. It brings in millions. And you talk about the first time they've back to back to back AFC championships. Now you're looking at, for the first time ever, they could be the only team in the NFL to be back to back to back champions. Now, to me, I think the Eagles remind me of the 2017 season, and I don't think it's going to be that easy for KC, because KC has just squeaked by on wins. And even Patrick Mahomes has said it. It's not like Andy Reid he doesn't have a magic formula or anything else. He's just been in the league for so long, and Patrick Mahomes has become such a seasoned veteran that he knows what works and what doesn't work. I mean, you have a 32-29 victory over Buffalo, and the only way you're going to be able to take out Kansas City, you really had to take them for a dog walk in order for them to be out. That's the way Buffalo's mentality should have been in when they came in there, but they didn't. Kansas City hung around, and you let Kansas City hang around, just like if the Commanders, if there would have been a 7-point difference in a Commanders game, could have been a possible different outcome. But you let the teams come around. I think the Eagles, in my opinion, when it comes down to it, they know what's got to get done to beat Andy Reid after the first time they met in the desert out in Arizona. A couple years later, now you're going to New Orleans. And to me, the Eagles have all the factors to be able to beat Kansas City. But of course, yeah, the NFL wants it. They know they're going to get a huge crowd down there in New Orleans. You're going to have birds on Bourbon Street, even though it sounds silly, but that's what's going to end up being. And then we saw last year, you and I, at Radio Row in Vegas, how many Eagles fans were even there, and other opposing teams as well, because everybody, once again, you buy your tickets early in the hope your team's going to be there. So even while we were at Radio Row and being down, on Media Monday at Allegiant Stadium, it's I've said this before too, Rock, is that when you listen to Patrick Mahomes, when you listen to Andy Reid, these guys already have 3 under their belt with Andy Reid. So you think they would go in there with this super cocky attitude, like, I don't care what San Fran is going to do. It doesn't matter. We're just going to take them. You guys are here to waste your money. Blah. No, you listen to Patrick Mahomes, you listen to Andy Reid. It was nothing but confidence. Like, you really wanted to hate this team, but you can't, because you go in there, they're about business, and they know exactly what game plan they're going to bring. You listen to Kyle, it wasn't the same. When you listen to him at the podium, there was nothing last year that convinced me that San Fran being there was going to beat Kansas City. You're listening to 2 complete different coaches, 2 complete different teams. Even though, and then you have San Fran too, they knew towards the end of the season they were going to have these contract disputes come next season, and that made it a small part of it. Brock Purdy wasn't experienced enough like Patrick Mahomes to be able to go in there. Those were your major differences. Now you take this season, and yes, KC is back there, whether the NFL likes it or not, yes, they're back there, and obviously it's a moneymaker, but you're talking about 2 seasoned quarterbacks and Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts. Listening to Nick Sirianni, he may not say all the right things down there in New Orleans, especially when it comes to Media Monday. He may not, because it's Nick. There's times where I can't stand the guy because the same way too. It's just things that, God bless him. He finally got out of his own way. He's doing well. He got this team over the hump from last year, because that fiasco that pissed me off like no other team ever in the NFL, that was absolute lunacy. But having seasoned veteran quarterbacks in the Super Bowl makes a world of difference. And even though I won't be there for Radio Row this year, but I can guarantee you, you can go back, listen to Andy once again, listen to Travis, listen to, Pat. You're going to get those same kind of vibes that you got from Vegas last year, when they knew what their game plan is. They're not afraid to share it. And they're basically telling you, here's our plan. If you got one better, meet us on the gridiron and beat us there. And then you can say whatever you want to say.
I was thinking that when I was watching the Washington Commanders. And I remember when the Commanders were here in Tampa Bay and watching the quick release of Jaden Daniels, just how quick his release is, how he saw the field. Nothing phased him, but it was his first year in the NFL.
Mhm.
And I think when he gets a little more experienced, he could be one of the greats. Donovan Smith was offensive tackle. He was a tackle here with the Bucs with Brady. He was a tackle with the Kansas City Chiefs. Said that when you get in the huddle, 2-minute drill, you got to go 85 yards. It was the same with Brady and the same with Patrick Mahomes. They have that confidence. Been there, done that. They've seen it. They just know how to get it done. Get it done in crunch time. And that's what you get from Mahomes. Bradshaw on NFL on Fox after this last game, he's like, look, if you look at his numbers, it's gotten better after the bye and pretty good, but look at the numbers. If you just go by numbers, this isn't a great Kansas City year. But Mahomes knows how to get it done when you got to get it done. It was the same thing with Brady. You have that confidence with the offense. Even if they're down and they got to score 6, they don't need a touchdown. They'll get it done. That's what you got from Mahomes. That's what you got from Brady. And you're right. Like, Sirianni takes a lot of heat. He's the way he is, and his press conferences going up to the fans, this and that. I forget who it was just the other day. I really respect. He's like, you got to give him his due, man. Look where the Eagles are. Again, they're back here. And same thing with Jalen Hurts. I was looking at Jalen Hurts' numbers. His numbers are good. I don't know why, And I think the big thing with the Eagles is listening to a lot of their players. They all said the same thing. Like, it was after the bye. They got together, stopped this griping. Remember, there was a griping in the locker room. Put all that aside. They did. A lot of teams will talk like that. They did. No iron team all got together. And again, the defense has been a number one defense. They're there for a reason. It's the old saying, you are what your record indicates. John Gruden now. Like him, hate him. He's with Barstool Sports. I know a lot of your viewers, maybe they don't know. Barstool Sports is a huge platform, man. A lot of young guys love Barstool, and Dave Portnoy hired him. And I've been following Gruden. And he does this call-in show at the end. They tape the calls because there's a lot of swearing, and they don't get a bad caller. It's very entertaining. And it was all the refs and this and that to the Chiefs and this. And Gruden is like, look, man, if you can't get one, I'm talking about the Bills and this, he goes, this tush push and saying that. If you can't get 1 yard, you don't deserve to get it done. In the key plays, the Bills didn't get it done. The Chiefs did. That's why, in the end, the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl.
Yep. It's for that reason alone. It's just, you have to. When we beat New England, and it's the same way with the old saying, to be the best, you have to beat the best. And that's what the mentality was in 2017. We knew the rematch from 2004 into 2005 had to happen at one point or another. Would have been great if Andy Reid would have been there, of course, because that's who we went back with. But Dougie P went in there and he knew exactly what had to get done. And I know, obviously you had Nick Foles and Tom Brady who made fun of each other, after the post game and stuff. And I didn't mind. I've enjoyed Tom Brady as a broadcaster. I didn't know what to expect, But for his first full season, I've actually enjoyed a lot of his commentary because you have someone who loves the game, has a passion still for the game. And so what's going to come out of Tom is the natural raw reaction. Now, without obviously being able to say more than he would like to say, because Fox will make sure you got to curb certain things so you're not giving a lot of stuff away. I get it. I understand it. But overall, he's been doing well. The only thing that a lot of folks are wondering is that he's stated, Rock, so far that he's planning to stay for the 9 remaining years that he has on his Fox contract. It doesn't mean he can't do more than his so-called 10% involvement as a minority owner with the Raiders. But everybody knows anything that Tom Brady's going to be involved with, he wants to do it to make better. And then now you have Pete Carroll, who was taken out of retirement, goes to the Raiders. Pete Carroll, who's a winning Super Bowl, coach, he also won on the collegiate level as well, had the opportunity of winning back-to-back Super Bowls, but screwed that one up. And to me, it's only because he wanted Russell Wilson to be the MVP that year instead of Senor Skittles, who was doing an outstanding job with Marshawn Lynch. And I was surprised he was there at the press conference.
Yeah.
But Tom Brady, whatever he touches, it seems to always work.
Yeah.
And now you wonder what kind of, between your OCs, DCs, special teams, he's going to try to put the best game plan to get together for the Raiders, because now you got obviously New England and Robert Kraft, who is hard. As an owner, it is, I couldn't even imagine if you and I owned an NFL team and we swore, man, Rock, we thought we had the right guy. Now we have to face our fan base and tell them that we screwed up and we screwed up bad. Robert Kraft did the honorable thing by saying so in front of the fan base, in front of the world, to say, hey, listen, I had Gerard Mayo pegged as the future head coach of this organization. Even before Belichick was gone, I made a mistake not to have Mike Vrabel. If, as much as they've said that Belichick was going to have some sort of involvement with Jacksonville, but he would have to have, again, full autonomy of the program because he didn't want Bucky there. He wanted to have the same basic privileges he had up in New England. That passed. He's still in North Carolina. He might take the year off, stay at the collegiate level to get his son to take over that program and be a lot better. Then come next year, we'll see who's available.
Man, I am. And look, the show would be better if we disagree because people like that. But I got to call it like it is. You hit that one on the head with Belichick. What was the narrative with Belichick after Brady? Brady leaves. He can't win. He's 72, 73, 70 some years old. Game has passed him by. He only had one call, one interview last year, the Atlanta Falcons. Now, I know for a fact someone close to him I know this, he really wants Don Shula's all-time coaching record.
Yeah.
He did not want to retire. He wants that. And no, he didn't win after Brady. Brady leaves 1 year. COVID. They couldn't even practice together. He got him in a high school away from the facility. They win the Super Bowl. So was it Brady or was it Belichick? That was eating away at him. And then there's Robert Kraft. You're right. So he only had the interview in Atlanta. They go with Raheem Morris. No other NFL teams called that had openings, 7, 8 openings. They thought he was done. He was old. He starts rebuilding his image, his brand. It's unbelievable. He would never say anything in a press conference. All of a sudden, he's on the Manning cast with the Mannings. He's on McAfee. He's on all these shows. He's dating a 24-year-old girl. He's a woman. Whether that really shouldn't matter anymore. But you're looking at a different Brady. You're like, he doesn't look like the game has passed him by. Oh my God. Then he shocks everybody and takes the North Carolina gig. But there is the contingent that he gets it that his son, when he steps away, will be the head coach. So he's setting up his son. And he's got some ties to the University of North Carolina. And now I'm watching him, I'm like, oh my God, he's in high school gyms going to PE class. He was standing with a quarterback the other day. The kid is a sophomore, 15 years old. Belichick's at a high school. Oh my God. And then we find out that he did not sign the contract. It's an addendum so that he could leave. And I didn't know it was a bigger thing on the college level. But again, He could be gone in a year.
Yeah.
But you look at Belichick now differently than when you looked at him when he was a coach and didn't say anything in the Patriots way. Oh my God. And then I was watching the podcast with Edelman and Gronk, and they had the former quarterback before Brady, and he was on, and they were talking about what it was like in the green room for the Brady roast. It was an unbelievable episode. And they were having Belichick was in there and he was busting chops and they were kidding him. Oh, what are you going down to the high school in Foxborough trying to get good? They're busting him. They're busting him. And all of a sudden, here comes Kraft. And Edelman said he's like, he didn't see him. He's like, Coach, Kraft is here because he had terrible peripheral vision. And it was so awkward because Kraft moved on. He said, we're moving on, man, from Belichick. So it just amazed when you brought up Belichick, like it amazes me now. He's looked at, he's got such a great personality. Game hasn't passed him by. It was like same thing in Seattle with Carroll. Oh, you know what, though? He's in his 70s. We got to get these young, hot offensive coordinators. The game has passed him by. But from what I understand, Brady, they needed some stability with the Raiders organization.
Right.
This is a 2-3 year deal, probably just two. Check out who the coordinator is going to be. Keep an eye on that. Next, grooming. Get some stability in there with the Raiders, and then you can bring in one of these new hot offensive coordinators. They needed some stability. And I'll tell you this: I've been at the NFL owners meetings a couple of years in a row. Being around, he might be 73 or whatever he is, 72. It's a number. Some people you look at, they look like they're 72.
Yeah.
Look at the Rolling Stones and Mick Jagger. He's like 83. And it's equivalent of 12 miles that he's doing on stage. You look at somebody else that's 83 and they look like they're nearly dead. Um, Pete Carroll's got a lot of energy. He does not act like he's a 72, 73-year-old man. So I think the Raiders thing is more about bringing stability and start getting that Raiders organization back. And I think that's that. But it's good. The Belichick thing fascinates me.
Yeah.
Mike Lombardi, they hired in the University of North Carolina, the NIL, the transfer portal, recruiting. It's fascinating to me.
It is, because you got to figure now he's going to learn a whole different asset that he didn't have to worry about as much when he was with New England. He had plenty of staff members. That was their job. Now he gets to learn something different. And you talk about a dad who will set you up for success. I mean, even when had the car ride over to North Carolina, I mean, he sounds just like dad. The only difference was we didn't have the opportunity of seeing Bill the way he is now, because anytime, even during the draft, when they had the camera in his house, it was him, his dog, laptop, chair. That was it. And so, seeing Bill in a whole different light, especially during the roast on Netflix, that was, comedy genius, even if they didn't think about it that way. But you look at Belichick now, sure, yeah, he could be with a 24-year-old. Does anybody care at this point anymore? No, because it's like, all right, that's old news. We move on. Yeah, she's 24. Hopefully they keep the relationship going and stuff like that. But in the end, he's learning a whole different asset of something that he didn't know, which gives him now more knowledge if he wants to come back into the NFL next year, because now he's like, aha, things that I didn't know, now I know certain recruits. I know now exactly what to do to build a dynasty as I did in New England years ago. So and I believe he will stay in Carolinas at least for a year, learn as much as he possibly can, come back to the NFL, because you're right, he wants Don Shula's record. I personally don't want anybody to break his record. I think Don Shula's record stay like that forever. But, records are meant to be broken. But he will. I think he will come back next year. It's just going to have to be a team, either A, that's really struggling, or is almost there at the cusp, because he keeps saying that he doesn't want to go to a team where he has to rebuild. But once he learns, just in my opinion, once he learns what he does this year at a collegiate level, I think he'll look for a team that may be so desperate enough that they will say, listen, Bill, you can bring you, your son, your daughter, your dogs, whoever you need in here, bring them all in, because we'll welcome them with open arms. He is just that much of a genius. And I know a lot of us really didn't like him when he was with New England, but there was a reason why him and Tom Brady were successful. Minus the cheating scandals, whatever went on that they were finally tagged for when they were in Atlanta. No matter which way you look at it, he's a genius. And so now you have to take a look and see what's he going to do next year. Who's going to really be around? I don't believe the whole Dallas hire with Schottenheimer. I think that was a desperate move by Jerry Jones. Am I not convinced that that could be a destination for Belichick come next year? Probably so. But it's going to be super, super interesting to see how much he learns. And even when people said, oh, Belichick's not going to travel to high school, Belichick's not going to go here, he's going to go there because these are relationships he wants to build. He wants to let these athletes know, you're coming to North Carolina, same business as I had in New England, except for this time it's going to be a lot more fun, a lot more charismatic, and I'm going to be who I am that everybody loves for me to be right now. Yes, I'll still be a coach, and we'll get you there to where we need to be. But North Carolina, a really smart move because you got to think about Chapel Hill is not known for football. Chapel Hill is known for basketball. So that was a really smart move by North Carolina.
So a couple of things there. Great points. Number one, Bruce Arians told us that with the players now, young players, it is different. You cannot scream at them, yell at them. They got to know why. Why are you yelling at me? It isn't like 10 years ago or even 15 years ago. That's just how it is. Kid, they're a little bit different. Pete Carroll at his press conference was saying that he loved picking Brady's mind and wants to learn more. And somebody said, "You're 73 years old. You gotta keep your mind open. You can have what you believe is the right thing, but you always gotta keep looking to learn." I think that's successful in any walk of life. There's things in technology. I'm not a tech guy. You are, that I've had to learn. There's different ways that are doing things now. Got to learn if you want to still, you got to evolve. And I think for Belichick, now Belichick was saying, they said, well, why college, man? Because you listen to Saban. Saban was like, look,